It happens so fast.
In a matter of minutes, Kristine Bunch lost everything.
I ran out screaming for help.
She lost her child, her home, and then her own freedom.
You don't think it's ever going to happen. You think those things happen to other people, not you.
It was 1995 and Kristine was 21 years old. In the early morning hours, a strange smell. The home where she lived with her 3-year-old son, Tony, was on fire.
I woke up. I was able to try to piece together what was happening. It was foggy. It didn't register what it was.
By the time she realized the room was filled with smoke, a wall of flame stood between her and her child.
I tried to get in the doorway. I couldn't. I took a tricycle and broke out a window and tried to climb in and get my child.
Despite her frantic cries, Kristine could not save him.
Every day since it happened, I wake up and ask why it wasn't me. And why didn't he make it?
Instead, she was left to cope with the unbearable pain of losing her child. And just when she believed her life could not get any worse, it became a living nightmare. Kristine was charged and convicted of setting the fire that killed her son.
When the judge read my sentencing, I was given 60 years for murder.
Arson investigators concluded that on the day of the fire, she had spread accelerants, set several blazes, and blocked the door to her son's room.
And I'm never making it out alive. I'm gonna die in there.
She was only 22 and suddenly facing a lifetime behind bars. Kristine adamantly denied setting the fire that killed her own son.
I knew that I didn't start a fire. I knew that I didn't intentionally kill my child. And so that spurred me on and allowed me to move forward.
And she refused to give up hope.
When you're stripped of everything and there's absolutely nothing and you get to the bottom, I think that's when you come into touch with who you really are.
And Kristine would find herself at the very lowest of all depths. While awaiting trial for the tragic fire, but free on bond, Kristine had a brief relationship and got pregnant. Now she faced giving birth to her second child in prison.
I don't even think it really sunk in that I was gonna have another child until I actually had him, because you're just broken.
Her second son, Trent, was born 3 months after she was locked up. Kristine woke up after a C-section with her legs chained to the hospital bed, briefly held her baby, and was sent back to her cell the next day.
I was ripped apart. I mean, I was a young girl when I found out I was pregnant with Tony, and that changed everything for me. And I worked and I went to school and I was trying to do things better because I wanted it to be perfect for him. And when all of that was wiped out, I essentially had nothing. So it didn't matter to me that I was there.
Until she became strong enough to think about what else she was losing.
I had Trent, and I realized I had something else to fight for, that I didn't lose absolutely everything.
Kristine's family brought Trent to visit his mother behind bars. She earned a bachelor's degree while in prison and tried to investigate the legal rulings in her own conviction. After years of rejections, she finally found an attorney who would appeal her case.
And that felt like what? For somebody to believe in you,
I was walking tall that day.
At one point, Kristine was tempted with a plea deal. All she had to do was confess, and she could reduce her sentence to just 6 more years. Otherwise, she faced another 17 years until she would be eligible for parole.
That was the most agonizing decision because I wanted out of that prison more than anything in the world. But I wasn't going to say that I did something that I didn't do in order to get that.
Kristine turned down the deal and decided to keep fighting.
Who I was, my word, what was inside of me, was the only thing that I could give or share with my child. And I didn't want him to think that it was okay to lie to get what you wanted.
And finally, a break. An expert in forensic toxicology agreed to look at the evidence against her.
She was able to prove off of my son's autopsy that it wasn't an arson.
Soon after, the Center on Wrongful Convictions at Northwestern University agreed to fight for her freedom. Judy Royal worked with Kristine's attorneys.
We had an arson expert review the records in the file.
He found the evidence against her was flawed, and the original lab report that sent Kristine to prison was wrong.
The observable patterns had nothing to do with an ignitable liquid. There was no evidence of an arson.
It was Kristine's moment of truth.
The investigation really went sideways when they declared that all of this complex burn pattern was the result of an ignitable liquid being spread throughout the room.
Instead, it could have simply been traces of kerosene used in home heaters that investigators categorized as diesel fuel used to set a fire.
I was shocked, very dismayed that they would reach a conclusion that this would have been an ignitable liquid fire set in multiple locations based on what they had.
Then, even more disturbing, a smoking gun. Kristine's lawyers found an altered draft of a chemist document. The discovery meant hope, but also disbelief.
Somebody, either the chemist or the fire people who got it, somebody altered that. Somebody changed my fate.
What did they do to you? If you could tell them what they did to you, what?
You took everything. You took every dream I had. You took every hope I had. You took every moment with my son, every single one. I didn't get to take him to that first day of school, and I didn't get to go do those things. You took it all.
The evidence seemed to unravel the prosecution's theory that Kristine had set the fire, but she still faced an uphill battle to get a new trial.
Problem is with criminal appeals is you must go back initially before the same court.
Incredibly, Kristine lost the challenge to her conviction. Despite all the evidence in her favor, the judge ruled the found documents did not disprove the case against her. But her story doesn't end here. She'd only begun to fight the battle for her life. Up next, after her strongest hopes to finally be set free are dashed, Kristine's best weapon becomes her determination to win back her life.